Hi Abhishek,
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Great. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to learn about the new features that XT4 has. Shall we get started?
Yes, definitely. So before I start with XT4 presentation, I would just like to say thank you so much sir, for allowing me to host this or showcase our Fujifilm product on your channel. And people who are joining, if you want to know any more questions about the camera or Fujifilm, you can let us know apart from XT4 as well. So shall I share the screen?
Yeah. Maybe Abhishek can just tell us a little bit about Fuji film and then maybe a little bit about XT4 and what features you have, and then definitely we can go through the slides and then before we start, I can share a little bit about my experience of using XT3 and XH1. So I was a little skeptical as a lot of other people because we are always so used to using full frame cameras and thinking that okay, so full frame is a camera that can only take really good pictures and Fuji manufactures all crop sensor cameras, so I was not really very sure about how the camera will work. And then Fujifilm Rupesh ji offered me a X-T3. I used it for some time, and then I realized how powerful that camera is. And I used it only with the 1855 kit, the kit lens, and it was just amazing. So it really blown me away. And then I got so influenced by that camera that I myself got a XH1. And then the other thing, other advantage I found in Fuji is, of course, everybody talks about the colors, but yeah, I was also doing a little bit of wildlife photography and with the Nikon D850 something like that and a 200 500 lens, which is a very big lens to carry all the time. And because I'm a travel photographer, I cannot carry a lens like that. So there's a lens in Fuji called the 100 400. Which is, if you consider the crop factor, the 400 millimeter becomes 600. So I use it for quite some time. The size and weight is very similar to the 70-200 2.8 lens of any other competitor camera, and it was just amazing. So I was getting really good quality pictures with a very small size. So that was my experience with Fuji, and I'm really blown away, and I'm really excited to see what Fuji X-T4 has in store. Of course, X-T3 was already very good, but we have something little better. So please tell us a little bit about it, Abhishek.
Yes, definitely. So the first point I observed in your uh, experience is that it's lightweight system. The Fujifilm cameras are made and meant for people who want or use lightweight systems.
Right.
So because our the main point of making a 35 not making a 35 format camera and sticking onto APS-C sensor camera is to reduce the weight of the lenses as well. The first and foremost point of mirrorless cameras is that mirrorless cameras are lighter weight. But if you actually observe, the lenses of mirrorless cameras are not that lightweight if you talk about full frame cameras.
Right. Right.
So, in order to make the lenses lighter weight, we had to bring down the sensor size and the lenses weight, but we have kept the main same quality as 35 mm. To give a small example, if you take any 24 to 26 megapixel full frame camera and our 26 megapixel or 24 megapixel APS-C sensor Fujifilm camera, the file size will be same or even higher in Fujifilm, if I say. So, and even JPEG or RAW file, both will be, the file size will be higher. So the information or the data which is there in the camera, which is produced by the camera, is same or even superior than your 35 mm sensor. So when I talk about video, you need to understand like so many. If you're making a movie, so people or cinematographers will understand there is something called a Super 35 sensor size. So Super 35 is say almost similar to APS-C sensor size, and we produce the any 4K videos without any crop. So the quality of the footages in video and for photo is superior or similar to APS full frame, but the lightweight system makes a lot of sense for people. Second point, I would say about Fujifilm is the colors, the Fujifilm simulations, because we have history of 85 years and we are making films from that time. We know the color science behind it, so we maintain the same color quality from films and we implemented in our cameras as well. So I'll talk about that little more in the Fujifilm like X-T4 presentation, because we have been introducing new Fujifilm simulations in our cameras every now and then. We started mirrorless cameras at 2011, so it's been 9 years of mirrorless cameras journey. So X-T4 right now is a 4th generation model, and we have improved a lot in mirrorless camera segment. Be it in-body image stabilization, a free webcam software, there's a lot of features. We'll get to know about X-T4 because that's a 4th generation mirrorless cameras. And third part is lenses system. So starting from 8 mm to 1000 mm equivalent, we have wide ranges of lenses, which is mirrorless lenses. If I talk about other brands, mirrorless lenses are very few, like maybe 4 or 5, and they provide an adapter so that you can use a DSLR lens onto your camera. But adapter is a temporary solution if you don't have budget for lenses, or like you already own so many lenses. Adapter, it makes sense, but to get 100% results from the camera and the lenses, you should not use adapter, and you should use native lenses is what I would suggest. And yeah, so fourth point is main is how the camera is structured, the camera is designed, the ergonomics of the camera is so important for Fujifilm, because many photographers and cinematographers believe that this particular camera is their third hand. That's how easy it should be to use a camera for a photographer or a cinematographer. So the dials are outside, it looks retro style, but it has most advanced features any camera have right now in the market. So we'll talk about Fujifilm XT4, but that is pretty much the gist of Fujifilm. Since 9 years, we have been in mirrorless camera segment, and already 4th generation. We have 33 to 34 lenses in X series, and a lot of Fujifilm simulations inside the camera. So we have something called as medium format camera. I think that also you know pretty well that our DX cameras or the APS-C sensor cameras can perform as similar to your full frame. But if you want to improve upon full frame or you want to upgrade, there is something called as medium format camera, which is 70% bigger sensor size than your normal conventional 35mm sensor. So usually this company which makes medium format up, Phase 1, Pentax or Mamiya Hasselblad, they have huge cameras. It's not that easy or friendly to use, and it's costly, it's burden on commercial photographer. And with GFX 150S50R, it's a lighter weight system, again in medium format camera, which 102 megapixel can be shot handheld. So that is the technology we are moving into Fujifilm cameras, which we are just on different route to making photographer and cinematographers' lives better.
Great.
So shall I present the screen?
Yes, please.
So before I start, I would like to just show a small offer on X-T4 which is running right now. Because of this festive season, I just want to showcase what is the kind of offer we are running in X-T4. So basically you're saying almost 55,000 rupees on X-T4 with the lens. If you buy X-T4 with 1855 kit lens, the MRP is 1,85,000 rupees. You're getting it for 1,63,000 rupees. So that is normal offer, but you're getting 128 GB, sorry, 64 GB of SD card, which is UHS 2, and a dual charger. You can charge 2 batteries together. So this is a cost you around 19,000 rupees worth of free gift. Additionally, if you pay 9,000 rupees after with the X-T4 and the kit lens, for 9,000 rupees you're getting a battery grip and 2 battery additional free of cost. So just for the cost of the battery grip and 2 batteries is 42,597 rupees, but you're getting it just for 9,000 rupees. So this is the offer on X-T4 right now.
Great.
So I'll move on to the X-T4 presentation. Okay. So there's a small introduction video on X-T4 because why this camera is becoming popular, because this particular camera, what you pay for is almost like a 2 camera. If you pay for 1 camera, but you're getting 2 camera out of it, because as soon as you switch between a still and video mode, your camera becomes separate video camera or photo camera altogether. Because in menu, the entire menu setup becomes video, so that you don't need a hassle or you don't need to search for settings in videos. And when you switch from movie to still, again the entire menu becomes into a photography camera. So that is one. We'll watch this small clip and then move on. Yes. So this is a small clip on X-T4. This you can clearly see what are the highlights of X-T4 camera in this video. So before I go complete technical on X-T4, I would just like to point out three major hardware upgrades and three major software upgrades, or inside the camera upgrade, you can say. So I'll show those, and then we can talk about more on detailed specifications if you have any questions on that.
Sure.
Okay. So the main three hardware upgrades is, first point is in-body image stabilization. So when I talk about in-body image stabilization, it's pretty common in mirrorless cameras right now. But what's unique about this particular camera is that it has 6.5 stops of stabilization in 5 axes. So the 5 axis, which is the direction of your stabilization, 6.5 stops as in the stabilization you get when you're in photography terms. If you're going up 6 stops lower, you can get that particular stops stabilized. And so why is that? Again, a important point is that before I move on, it's 30% smaller size in XH1 because we always believed in lighter weight system makes much more helpful for photographers and cinematographers. So what I was saying says in 5-axis stabilization, you have 6.5 stops. In our Fujifilm IBIS, it works almost 80% of the lenses, which is 6 to 6.5 stops, which you don't get in other brands. If I talk about other brands in-body image stabilization, they have 5 axis and 5 stops, but even though with 5 stops, they do not work in all the lenses. Maximum with like lens will be like 3 to 5, and after those other lenses it will only be stabilizing with 2 to 3 stops. So these are the lenses which can gain up to 6.5 to 6 stops. So starting from 14 mm to 2470, you get almost 5.5 stops. And these are the different kind of lenses which are normally used, and you are almost 5 stop guaranteed in X-T4.
Wow.
So the second main upgrade on this X-T4 is the shutter unit. So why shutter unit? Why are we changing the shutter unit from X-T3 to X-T4? Because of the IBIS. We installed a new 30% smaller IBIS in X-T4. That's why we have implemented a new shutter unit altogether. So what are this? Why do you need this shutter unit? So there is a question from like people or photographers usually when I do workshop is in mirrorless cameras. When initially we introduced mirrorless cameras, is that what is the shutter life of mirrorless cameras, right? Because mirrorless cameras, many photographers tend to use electronic shutter. Many people use mechanical shutter, but they always ask what is the shutter life. Before I move on to that, the shutter unit, I want to showcase the power of this shutter unit. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So' this is the fastest shutter speed in mirrorless cameras right now. 'So 15 frames per second is mechanical shutter, and electronic shutter, if I talk about, that is 30 frames per second. So in any camera which is there right now, 15 frames per second mechanical shutter is the fastest, and 30 frames per second in electronic shutter again is the fastest in the mirrorless cameras. That is true. So for wildlife photography, when you need a crisp feather to capture, or you want to capture a very sharp subject, or like very fast moving subject in a very sharp manner, I think faster frames per second in mechanical shutter actually helps you a lot. So 15 frames per second is very good for wildlife photographers and a sports photographer or a concert photographer, for because anything which is fast moving and you need to focus, click in a sharper manner, I think that is that's a requirement. So this is what I was talking about, the shutter cycle. It's 3 lakh shutter, one of the highest in mirrorless cameras. In like 3 lakh shutter in mechanical shutter, that too in mirrorless cameras is pretty rare. Wow. So this is the power of the mechanical shutter: 15 frames per second mechanical shutter and 3 lakh cycles for this particular shutter unit. And again, 30% lesser noise in your shutter. So if you're using silent shutter sound, your the sound which makes the cameras 30% lighter than our previous predecessor. This is because many photographers like to shoot or in indoor where you do not make any sound, or like if you're using this camera for photojournalism, I think that time also you should not need a higher sound in your shutter, this thing. So yeah, so this is the pretty much of second point of our mechanical upgrade in X-T4. First is IBIS and second is the shutter unit. So third point in this particular camera is the battery supply. We all know in mirrorless cameras, if you're using mirrorless cameras, major chunk or the major part which plays role in this camera is the battery, because you're using electronic viewfinder which consumes power. You're using LCD way too often than your normal DSLR, because if you're shooting a video or if you're shooting a photo, your LCD is as fast as your electronic viewfinder or optical viewfinder. So that is why there's a lot of power consumption. Upon that, if you're using in-body image stabilization, that also take more power. There's a lot of mechanism inside the camera which is running, which consumes a lot of power in mirrorless cameras. So that is why you need a good battery support for these cameras. So we have improved this particular battery. First time ever in X series cameras, we have changed the battery design. Starting from X-T1, X-T2, X-T3, we maintained a similar battery size, and it's the same battery format, same design. But first time in X-T4, we have changed the battery design, and this particular battery is powerful. It can shoot up to 500 frames in one complete charge. And if I'm using battery grip with additional 2 batteries, so 1 battery is inside your camera and 2 additional batteries inside the battery grip, this will give you almost 1,450 shots from the company side's guarantees. But I've heard a lot of reviews from photographers and cinematographers that in imaging, it can go up to 1,800 to 1,900 images. It depends on what kind of settings you use also. And if I talk about video, the battery life in video, you can shoot continuously 2.5 hours, depend on the settings again. So 2.5 hours for 1 battery, and if you're using battery grip and 3 batteries, it's up to 6 to 6.5 hours you can shoot. So this is the power of your new battery. Yes, Saurabh, you were saying something?
Well, I'm just saying it's amazing. I mean, because that was one problem I was facing with the mirrorless cameras. I had to always carry more batteries, but I think with this battery, I think it will be quite great.
Yes, definitely. So because we are offering dual battery charger with this, you can simultaneously charge 2 batteries, which is again a time saver. And also you can charge directly with your power grip. So you can shoot, and if you want to turn it off, the power will be charging your batteries. Or if you're plugged into a tethering cable, that also can charge, because we are providing C-type port in our new cameras. It was there from X-T3 itself. In X-T4 also we have the same thing. So you can charge with the power bank as well. So there's a lot of power banks which give 10,000 mAh. So if you have 10,000 mAh, that will support your X-T4 to charge as a, like if you can use power bank and charge your cameras. Okay, so we've finished our three major improvement from X-T3 to X-T4 in hardware is in-body image stabilization, battery life, and second is shutter unit. So shutter unit, we already spoke, it's 15 frames per second mechanical shutter and 3 lakh shutter cycle. In-body image stabilization is 5-axis with 6.5 stops, which covers almost 80% of our native lenses. And third point was battery life, which shoots up to 500 images in one full charge, and for video up to 2.5 hours of battery life. So when I come into inside the camera, the part which Fujifilm is very proud of is its Fujifilm simulations. Because we have 85 years of history in filmmaking, the quality of the color reproduction which comes out of the film has been carried forward to our mirrorless cameras as well. So in 16 film simulations, we have around like 16 to 18 film simulations depending on which camera you're buying. Right now, we have introduced new film simulation in this particular camera is Eterna Bleach Bypass. So it has hard tonality, but it has cinematic look. So there's a small clip. We'll look into that and then continue.
Sure.
When I was 9, I came to the West Coast from the Free State. Going back to our family farm, there's this long road where generations of my family have driven down, 5-6 generations down that exact road. Driving down that road and seeing that.
So you saw the video, how our cinematic look feels like. In Eterna Bleach Bypass, it has hard tonality but little less saturation. This is the trend which is going on in the social media networking sites because this looks more cinematic feel and it has a nice consistency look for your cinema. So this particular feel and the color grading you can get inside the camera itself without any color grading later on. So that is the most important point of Fujifilm cameras, that you get such good color out of the camera, straight out of the camera, that you don't need to edit later on that much. So I will be showing a small video on that as well later on after this thing. So what
I think this is one great thing about Fujifilm, because I had shot some short videos and I saw almost no color grading, and straight off the camera you can just publish it. It's just so amazing.
Yes. So many people, believe it or not, Saurabhji, that 80% of the photographers in India, I'm including all the traditional conventional photographers as well, use JPEG. They don't use raw files while shooting. And for them to get great colors out of the camera, I think that makes a lot of sense for photographers. And for cinematographers, if I talk about wedding industry, because we have a huge market in wedding.
Right.
In wedding also, there is a lot less time to edit the video. So when you edit the video and then later on to color grade it, it takes a lot of time, because so many cinematographers or editors, they edit in one particular software and they take the file to another software just to color grade it. So there's a lot of time consuming factor. Because we have Fujifilm simulations, I think that makes a lot of time saving option for a cinematographer or photographer.
Right.
So second major thing is autofocus. We all know mirrorless cameras has great autofocus. It has eye autofocus and face reduction. So we improved upon that, and with new algorithms, we have improved so much that once the autofocus catches your eye, it's very hard to let go. Oh, sorry. One second. So I think there is this video. One second. Yes. So if you can see the eye autofocus, which is caught onto the eye, it's tracking very smoothly. And major important point is that we have eye detection and face detection in slow motion video as well. It's not just for video, photo. We also use this face detection in our slow motion videos as well. So many photographers, cinematographer have asked that does that work in slow motion? Yes, it does. So we also have improved tracking focus as well. As soon as a subject which has higher contrast, which is moving in your subject, the tracking focus is much improved. So it's so fast that you don't even feel that there's a lag of focusing. So it's so fast in tracking focus as well. So when I talk about third major important point in inside the camera of X-T4 is it's the movie function. So Full HD slow motion has become 240 frames per second, which is 10 times slow motion with great quality output. So let us watch a small video on that. So you can see, you can get that perfect cinematic look to use slow motion and as well as at an bleach bypass film simulation. So you have the great combo of slow motion and a good color grading option inside the camera itself. So in 4K 60 frames per second, that's almost 2.5 times of slow motion. You can use electronic image stabilization upon your in-body image stabilization. So if you want to use electronic image stabilization, you have a slight crop, but again, you can fix that. So all your videos is consistent, or you can just leave it so that you can edit later on. So the more convenient option is provided for cinematographers to use this camera. And so major important role in this camera is because we are using this camera for cinema level quality. When you're using to cinema level quality, there's a lot of accessories which you are mounting on this camera. There's a lot of, like if you talk about cinematic lens, and if you talk about external recorder like Ninja, and if you're using follow focus or external mic output. So you need to use a rig on this camera and then use all those accessories. When you use rig and external monitor, all those things, sometimes it's hard to use these dials. So we have given silent movie control. So this particular silent movie control gives us an option of using touchscreen as for all your settings. So be it shutter, aperture, ISO, white balance, Fujifilm simulations, mic control, all the settings can be done just with your touchscreen. So the dial will not work at that time, but your touchscreen will handle all your settings. So this is one of the great feature because we have kept in mind that this will be used for higher end cinematography as well. Because this provides 60p 422 10-bit output through HDMI. So that particular quality which you're getting out of the Ninja recording or external recorder, it's cinema quality level. So you will be using this camera for cinematic level. So that is the convenient option we have given. And so these are the main summaries of what are the upgrades which has happened from X-T3 to X-T4. To name a few, we already had DCI 4K 60 frames per second, which is H.265, and with all intra option in X-T3 itself. That is itself one of the highest feature in mirrorless cameras. Second is 422 10-bit external recording and 420 10-bit video internal recording in SD card itself. So there is 400 Mbps bitrate, which gives you the highest quality of video. So if you have if you're shooting in this particular video size, you need to make sure that you have enough space on your card, and also your system is upgraded because it can handle this higher end video. There is microphone and new headphone option. If you want to use microphone, you can use, and if you want to use headphones along with that, there will be a USB to C 3.5 mm converter. This option was very good for me because if I'm doing an interview session, there's a lot of interview session happening right now because of pandemic. There is a lot of inside shoots happening, online sessions. So you have something called as tally light, time code, and zebra, etc. So tally light is that when you have that small light front and back, so that will be blinking so that the interviewer or the person who is being interviewed can look at the camera and see which is recording, and so to just tally that. So there's a lot of options for people who are into this interview or online sessions as well. So there's F-Log. F-Log is a raw profile for your cameras. The video will be almost like raw. There will be no color grading which will be done inside the camera. So this is almost 12 to 13 stop dynamic range. So that is very good for video quality.
Amazing. So guys, if you have any question regarding the camera, please type in the comments, and Abhishek will be kind enough to answer the questions. Okay, so yeah, just type in the question, and so Abhishek, please continue.
Yes, definitely. Please do let me know questions not only regarding X-T4, apart from if you want to know about Fujifilm cameras or mirrorless cameras, you can ask. So there is face and eye detection in the video and slow motion that was there. So new upgrades on X-T4. First is you have 10 times slow motion, which is superb. Second is Eterna and Eterna bleach bypass film simulation, which is again, it's very good quality for cinematic feel. There's new F-Log assist, MP4 and H.264 ACC option. So if you want from MOV or MP4, you can choose either way inside the camera. So you can choose which file format you want to shoot in. So there is resizable autofocus points in video as well, and movie optimized control. There's an external audio mic line option if you want to use, and there's quick movie menu settings. So there is, when you have a quick button on this particular thing, so there is quick menu. From this quick menu, you can make it transparent so that while changing the settings, you know what exactly is happening in the video. So this was not there before. Right now we have added the transparency in quick menu settings so that while changing the settings, you know what results you're getting. And this custom settings for movie. So you can set a custom settings for your particular movie and you can use that again and again. So last option is one of the highlight point of this camera, because it's very rare to find this option in any other camera. So usually we have two SD card slots in almost all our cameras. So with two SD card slots, we all knew that in image, you can use this as a backup. You're shooting in first SD card slot and second SD card slot as a backup for photography. So we have introduced the same feature in video as well. So whatever you shoot in first SD card, you can back up that in your second SD card slot as well. So these slots, first slot and second slot, will support you 512 GB of UHS-2 card. So that is the maximum card support for one SD card slot. So with two SD card slot, you almost have a TB of space in your this particular camera.
Wow, amazing.
So that is very good. So pretty much covered the technical aspect. I want to show a small clip of me shooting in this particular. I could not go out in the situation right before. So I just shot the sky and was seeing the difference between F-Log, Eterna bleach bypass, slow motion and other film simulations. There's a very small clip. Let us play that and then we can continue. What's it?
Sure.
So
Amazing.
this was a small clip on how will your cinematic look feel like. I've done F-Log shot and then color graded it to look a little more dreamy. It's not natural colors, but it looks a little more dreamy. And if you're into those kind of stuff, or your movie requires those kind of color grading, you can do that very easily. So that was a full point of it. So do we have any question, or should I move on with the presentation?
So we have one question here. So Baijo is asking, uh, how do you continue to autofocus tracking in video?
Yes, so right now continuous tracking is depends on what kind of settings you have. Face detection and eye detection is there if if your subject are human, or even it detects some kind of animals as well. But if you're talking about focus tracking, that tracking or object tracking option is not there right now, but we have faster tracking focusing. So if you're tracking any subject which has high contrast, that will be tracked very fast. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, okay, so we have one more question. So, is there any picture quality loss in film simulation comparing without simulation?
So you're comparing with F-log, is it?
Yeah, probably without a simulation, maybe without any simulation. I mean, not F-log, but maybe in general.
Okay, so if you're they'll see if you're using a photography term, film simulation is just an additional normal colors which is added. If your JPEG is just compressed, it's the same as normal JPEG. But if you're shooting in RAW, that's just an external file which contains the information. Well, as soon as you import in Lightroom, that will delete it. But if you capture one, if you're using capture one, that will retain film simulation. That will not result in picture loss. That is not at all possible. It's just adding color enhancement. It's just adjustment of colors, the way the color science which we have. So the raw file, if you're shooting in images, it will not disrupt any image quality or nor in JPEG. But if you're talking about video, there is depends on which kind of film simulation you use and depends on what kind of lighting settings you use as well.
Okay. Abhishek, can you please repeat what you said about Capture One and Lightroom? So you're saying something about.
So there are certain softwares which support different brands. So Fujifilm has raw file which has, because all our cameras are extrans sensor, right? Because of the raw file which is generated because of that sensor, the pixels or the colors reproduction which you have made, that can be readable, or the file which be readable will be few softwares. If I talk about Lightroom will delete the film simulations in the raw and it will show you the raw images when you import them. But you can later on import the film simulations and then apply onto it. So that is a different task.
Okay.
And in Capture One, if you are importing Fujifilm raw files, it will be entertaining the film simulation along with it. So it will apply those film simulation as soon as you import.
Okay. Okay. Great.
So shall I continue?
Yeah, please continue.
Okay. So there is one major advantage of having or buying Fujifilm cameras is they will be giving you free firmware upgrades. So since the inception of Fujifilm mirrorless cameras, we have been providing free of cost firmware upgrades for all our cameras. So with this firmware upgrades, you get new features, and if there is any minor bug fixes, that will also be helpful. So to give a small example, X-T2 when it was launched, it did not have 4K video or slow motion. For people who bought X-T2 cameras after a year or two, the X-T3 was launched. They don't need to upgrade the camera just because of that. With the new firmware upgrade, they got 4K video and full HD slow motion in X-T2 itself.
Wow.
So the camera, once you invest in Fujifilm cameras, it's in a long run. You can go up to at least 4 to 5 years of shooting, unless if you want to upgrade an hardware system. So we will try to provide as much as free firmware as possible, which improves a lot of features in your camera. So right now in this situation, all the photographers and cinematographers were stuck in home and they were providing content from their home itself. Excuse me. So if they want to deliver high quality footages or online video streaming, how do they do it? Do I need to pay and buy an additional video capture card? No. So what we did was we released a new firmware for cameras of almost all the X series, starting from XA7, XT200, XT2, XH1, XT3, XT4, X Pro 3, X Pro 2, GFX 50S, 50R, and GFX 100. So we released a new firmware which supports Fujifilm X webcam. So what is this? Basically, I am going live through Fujifilm XT3 with 23mm f2 lens. So what is the difference of it? The main reason of this particular quality is you get to see much more depth in the video, and you get to use film simulations. I'm right now going through classic Chrome. So if you are doing online live streaming through your cameras, or any particular situation, like for example wedding, at that time I can use Velvia to accentuate or increase color saturation in my online streaming as well. So you are using film simulations, you're getting color depth, and there is more contrast in your video. Major important point is, if you want to use zoom lens, you can use that as well. So basically in your webcam you don't have that option. So do you want me to show a difference? Sort of maybe later on, once we finish the presentation, I'll just show you switch between webcam and the camera.
So it's already 4:45. So yeah.
Okay,
So if you
okay,
have time, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have to
okay,
see
sure.
if you can do it.
Okay, so I'll just quickly run through like what is the what settings you have to do. First of all, you need to download X webcam software from our fujifilmx.com website and install it in your system. And once you upgrade the firmware of the cameras, all the settings you have to do is keep it in still mode. In settings, you have to change it to connection settings to tethering fixed or auto. So after that, you need to change it to pre-AF so that the focus is happening continuously. You need to switch on the pre-AF and your camera is ready for webcam shooting. With just C-type cable from camera to your system without any additional capture card or video card, you can use your camera as a live streaming device. So you can use that in Zoom, Skype, Google Meet, OBS, StreamYard, all those things. Right now we are also going through the XT3, the live. Yeah. So that is my presentation. Thank you so much.
Great. I think we have one more question. So Digant is asking this question: are LUTs available for F-Log?
Yes. So if there's a lot of LUTs which is available right now, like you can purchase. There's free also. There's a lot of LUTs which is available. Once you shoot the video in F-Log, you can import into a software which you're editing, and you can import the LUTs. So Aditya Verma is working on so many LUTs which is released recently. Like that, there is so many other creators who are developing new kind of LUTs so that you can use it.
Okay. So yeah, somebody is asking Tulsi is asking this the difference between using Capture One and Lightroom.
Okay, so I'll tell you. So many people say it's a little difficult to use Capture One, but it's not that thing. You just used to Adobe software, that's all. Once you get into Capture One, it's pretty much easy. What is the main difference? One, Lightroom will reduce your raw file quality when you're using Fujifilm. So when you're using and you're exporting that particular raw file, you might find slight noise, or you might, while editing also, you might not have a great quality output. So I would prefer Capture One because it reads our raw files better, and you have a lot of good options in Capture One. You can tether directly from the camera without any hassle, and there's a lot of editing options you can find which is not there in Lightroom right now.
Okay, great. Guys, any other questions that you have, you can just quickly ask. Which we'll have another 5 minutes if you have any questions.
Okay. So people, while asking questions, I have a couple more things to introduce on Fujifilm cameras.
Yeah.
We already told the offers. Just like there's a lot of offers running on X-T3, X-T4, X-T7, X-T200, and X-T30 as well. So there's one offer running with GFX50R also. I wouldn't mention everything in this platform, but if you want to know about it, you can always contact Saurabh ji or Rupesh. I would like to.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave their coordinates, their numbers in the description. So if you want to get in touch with them, please feel free. They are very, very helpful people, very nice and friendly people, and they have gone out of the way to help me whenever I needed any help regarding any Fujifilm camera.
Great. So apart from that, we do make rangefinder style cameras, which people do not know. I would just like to give a small information. Rangefinder style cameras is made by Fujifilm or Leica company, that's all. So there is no other brand which makes like a rangefinder style, because it is unique kind of camera which is small, thin, and user friendly, and also travel friendly. So we have hybrid viewfinder installed in that. If you want to use optical, you can use, or you can switch to electronic viewfinder in the same camera. So it's best of both worlds.
Great. So great. I don't think we have any more questions. So great, Abhishek. So if you do you have anything more that you would like to cover?
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. Just to add on to people who are using Fujifilm cameras or don't know how to don't know much about Fujifilm cameras, I would just like to point out few things. First of all, the mirrorless cameras look different, but it has most advanced features. Second point, it's a lighter weight system for your higher end quality footages. Third point is the color reproduction which comes out of the camera. So these are the main important things of Fujifilm cameras. I would just like to show X-T4 maybe in the body. So the design which is there right now, can you see this thing? Or is it focused?
Yes, we
So the
can.
X-T4
Yes.
right now it is like this, and it has all the dials on the top, and
Beautiful, beautiful.
so there is, if you want to convert it to live or like photo or still, if you can do that.
Right.
And also it has fully articulating LCD. If I'm shooting like this,
Wow, amazing.
that is good because for all the vlogging or selfie cameras or selfie footages, you can do
Right,
it as well.
right.
So right now vlogging is in trend, and I think with this high quality camera or this thing, you are bound to use this camera as a vlogging or maybe selfie cameras or a selfie video thing.
Right. And one thing I found about any Fuji camera that I have had in my hand is it really feels so good. I mean, ergonomically, it is built, it is designed so well that you really feel like shooting using the camera when you have it in your hands rather than a pain or something. So it really feels so good to have a Fujifilm camera in my hand.
Yes, especially you will stand out in the crowd because the camera looks a little bit different, and the performance is the same and the quality is the same, but the camera feels different and it looks retro style.
Right, right.
Yeah, you will stand out from the crowd.
Great, great. Great, Abhishek. Thank you so much for your time and explaining the features about the X-T4 camera. And I hope our viewers really had a good time understanding the camera. And guys, if you have any question, I'll leave their coordinates so you can get in touch with them if you want to know anything about Fujifilm or X-T4 or any of the offers that they are running. You can get in touch with them. And so right now they're having some offer. If you want to avail that, you can go ahead and buy this.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Saurabh, for inviting me, and thank you, Rupesh Garu, also. And hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please do let us know on Fujifilm X India, like YouTube channel, Facebook, or Instagram. We'll always be happy to help.
Right. And yeah, thanks to Rupeshi. And I would say that he has been exceptionally helpful to me all the time whenever I needed any help from Fuji. So especially to give me the cameras to try. So it was really very helpful. So thank you once again, Abhishek, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.